Hey everyone, and welcome back to the official Valorant tier list from SkillCapped.com. In this week's patch, we saw Riot bring down the hammer on Chamber with an endless list of nerfs. That, alongside tweaks to Neon to bring her closer to the light. If you've read the patch notes, you're probably wondering how these agents scale up to each other now. Is Chamber unplayable? Is Neon overpowered? Just stick with us. We'll get into it. Before we do though, remember, if you're looking to push your limits at the end of this act, be sure to check out SkillCapped.com. We spent all the time studying and mastering the game so you don't have to. With over 15,000 hours of playtime between our team, we'll teach you everything you need to know to be good at Valorant in a matter of minutes, saving you all the time you'd have spent figuring things out yourself. So put it this way. You could go and spend an insane amount of hours trying to figure out all this stuff out by yourself, or you could join SkillCapped and fast track your way to Diamond starting now. At the end of the day, it's your call, but it's kinda a no-brainer decision to me. Check out SkillCapped.com. You won't be disappointed. Starting off things from the bottom this time, locking down the D tier, it's gonna be the long-lost Sentinel, Cypher, and Killjoy. D tier makes these agents' placements sound dramatic, but they're still playable. Now, I remember once while watching popular Yoru creator Red say, any agent is good if you have good aim. And we couldn't agree more. In matchmaking, these two can get the job done, but just when you compare their power level to Chamber, it's just no contest. There's too much stuff in this game right now that breaks their utility. You just need to jump through hoops constantly to even use your ability. If Chamber ends up leaving the meta, you may see these agents picked up more, but spoiler alert, it doesn't seem like that's happening anytime soon. And what's kind of funny is that Chamber overshadows all the Sentinels, but he actually overshadows another agent as well. She's the only one in our C tier. You guessed it. Next, we've got Reyna. It's an endless debate. Some people think Reyna's super great, some people think she's absolutely horrible, and we lean towards encouraging players to avoid her. To put it simply, when you're having a bad game on Sova, it's still really easy to give value. When you're having a bad game on Reyna, it's a bit more difficult, but hey, it's your call. Jumping up to our B tier, we've got Omen. Omen's found himself a bit higher on this list previously, but we actually bumped him down to the B tier after doing a bit more of a deep dive into the stats. You've got to keep in mind, Omen's biggest competition right now is Brimstone. Viper isn't as versatile as Omen or Brimstone, so she's kind of a class of her own, but when you're looking to pick a versatile controller right now, players think of Omen or Brimstone. And in higher rank lobbies, it seems like Omen might be outperforming Brimstone. But this is a solo queue tier list, and predominantly in solo queue, most players, they're lower rank. For that reason, we suggest that you pick Brimstone for two reasons. The first reason is that Brimstone boasts a higher win percentage across nearly all ranks below Immortal. Not just by 1 to 2%, but in some cases nearly a 3% higher win rate than Omen. The other reason we suggest playing Brimstone, though, is probably the reason his win rate's higher. He doesn't require as much teamwork. Just play some Angry Birds on your iPad, grab some kills, and you'll be good to go. Moving on to our B tier. Next, we've got Astra. As we said, Brimstone and Omen are the main competition right now, but people are definitely overlooking Astra quite a bit right now. She's still really good in the right hands, and her utility is incredibly impactful for stopping pushes all over the map, regardless of where you're positioned. While a little tough to use, she's a little hard to judge off of stats alone, but Astra is definitely a bit underrated right now, and we suggest keeping your eye on her. We think Astra is always going to be one of those niche picks, and it sort of feels like unless she's ridiculously broken, she's not worth the effort for most to learn how to play her, but that doesn't mean she's weak. In the right hands, an Astra can be very annoying to deal with, so we place her just slightly above Omen. And one more interesting agent who finds themselves in the B tier right now is actually Sova. We mentioned it in our last tier list, but Sova feels a bit outclassed right now. He's good sometimes, but most people are opting for Fade in the current meta, and we don't blame them. It seems the drone changes really hit Sova hard, and without some sort of movement speed increase to the drone, or maybe a decrease in price, it just doesn't feel great playing Sova. He's still really fun though, and pretty simple to play, so you'll probably see him a lot in matchmaking. Never a bad pick, just not always the best pick. And this is a similar ring to the final agent in our B tier, Phoenix. The Phoenix buffs made him the flavor of the month for a bit. But now that everything's kind of slowed down, people are still favoring other duelists. And Phoenix is seeing a bit more play still, but it's nothing crazy. With that being said, it does seem like his win rate is overall positive in almost all ranks. So he's definitely not a bad pick for anyone looking for an easy duelist. And it's time for things to get serious though. Diving into our A tier, we've got Breach to start things out. Breach can be phenomenal in the right hands, and while he's pretty frustrating to play as a solo player, when you pair this guy with a good duo, you can absolutely take control of the game. Take a look at some of these combos we pulled off in one of the duel commentaries on our website.
Alright, there you go. I'm gonna stun this, throw stun for long.
Get out of my way!
It's pretty easy to see that when done right, these plays can be incredibly deadly. Remember, you can catch all those full commentaries over on our website as well. With Breach being one of the single most oppressive agents in the game though, you'd be stupid to not consider his value in the game right now. He's played in so many pro comps right now, and it's honestly for good reason. He's just that strong. One agent that works pretty well with Breach right now is Yoru. Yoru's taken a break from the lower tiers and he's weaseled his way into the A tier the last few lists. His decoy is actually pretty valuable in ranked, basically being a 100 credit drone, and his rotational ability is actually super valuable in solo queue. While being a bit confusing to play sometimes, Yoru's a pretty strong pick right now, and we definitely encourage you to give him a shot if you haven't already. As for Brimstone, we already talked about him, which means that next on our tier list, we have Viper. Viper finds herself higher than the other controllers on this list because she's just not replaceable right now. The map she's good on, she's the only option, while the map she's alright on, she's still an option, and for that reason, she's gotta be one of the best controllers in the game. We're hoping the next agent released in the game is another controller to spice up the meta a bit, but for now, it seems like the controllers are going to stay in the same place for a while. Similarly, the Sentinel role doesn't seem that dynamic right now. Sage is the only Sentinel who even does something different than the other 3 Sentinels, making her the only other option really besides Chamber. Sage has appeared to be especially valuable on Icebox, Fracture, and Pearl, so that's where you may see her, but some pro teams were even opting to run her on Haven too. Similarly to the controller role, we'd love to see something get shaken up for Sentinels, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's happening this patch. Now to talk about our more dynamic roles though. Sky's finding herself very high on the A tier this time around. She's a really good sweet spot between Initiator and Duelist, which is why she's so perfect for solo queue. Being able to pop flash for yourself as well as gather info safely is an incredibly valuable resource that KO and Breach just can't do as smoothly. That being said, in KO's case, he does have some other tools that place him just a bit higher. Finally, topping off our A tier, we have Neon. After her buffs, this patch is creeping her way up the tier list until further notice. Her ultimate's power level is much stronger now, buffing one of the few weaknesses it had by allowing Neon to kill targets even faster. It's still not as good as Jet Knives or Chambers Operator, but it'll be much more powerful this patch, and Neon was already an agent on our radar due to how much pro play she sees. Neon's in a really good spot right now, and we highly recommend picking her up. And as for our S tier though, KO's not going to be the first agent we cover. Instead, we'll be starting with our newest addition to the S tier, Fade. Fade's been climbing slowly in our tier list for some time now and has officially found her place among the strongest agents in the game. Fade's Prowlers are by far some of the strongest pieces of Initiator utility, and the fact that they're one of the best abilities for dealing with Chamber makes them that much stronger. If you think Chamber's holding an angle, send a Prowler in that direction and you'll force him to either shoot the Prowler or fall off the angle. The best part is, unlike Breach Stunned, it also provides the info of the player's exact position. Along with this, Fade's abilities also synergize not only really well with herself, but also with other agents. Fade is super strong right now and easily one of the best initiators in the game. We highly recommend picking her up. And speaking of synergy, one of the best agents with Fade is Raze. This is nothing new, but Raze is easily one of the best duelists in the game. When it comes to duelists, most of their utility is incredibly selfish, but Raze is the exception to this rule. Some of her util is selfish, but it also has great team value. Her Boombot is effectively a drone, and her paint shells is great for helping her whole team take space, and not just herself. Raze has all the tools in her kit that she needs to take over a game in the right hands, and that's why she finds herself so high on this list. As for the agent you've all been waiting for, Chamber still finds himself in the S tier. The nerfs, although hefty, actually didn't really change very much about how he plays. Increasing his ultimate charges to 8 doesn't make it feel any better getting killed by it, and his teleport is just as fast as it was before. While the changes are going to make him a bit less fun to play, he'll still be just as obnoxious as he was before. One agent we still highly recommend using to deal with Chamber though is KO. Sure, Chamber's annoying, but he's far less annoying when he can't use abilities, and that's KO's specialty. Although we mentioned his info gathering isn't quite as good as Sky's, what he lacks in intel, he makes up for in suppression. Because this ability is so valuable and no other agent provides it, KO will always have a place in the meta for this ability-based tactical shooter. As for our agent in the S tier, it's Jet. Nothing new here, she's still great. Her knives did see a small nerf to leg shot damage, but if you're aiming at the legs, you're not really playing the game the right way anyway. Jet's still super strong and definitely one of the best matchmaking choices in the game right now. And that's going to do it for this week's list. Be sure to let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree with our picks? We'd love to chat with you about it.
That's all we got for our video today, but remember that if you're really looking to improve at Valorant, I highly recommend checking out SkillCapped.com. We get it, you're just a player trying to get better at the game. That's why you're watching this video in the first place. You're capable of hitting that rank you deserve. But there's no shame in asking for a little help. At SkillCapped.com, we spend hours going through viewer-submitted replays to let you know all the mistakes that you're making. We also couple this with our Smurf commentaries to show players that it is possible to carry themselves out of whatever rank they're stuck in. It might seem hopeless at times, but trust me when I say we can help you out. All you have to do is check out SkillCapped.com. Link in the description below.